If you like horror movies about insane and unhinged serial killers, this one is for you. Let's do it. Wolf Creek is about these three friends, Liz, Christy, and Ben, and they are tourists who are backpacking across Australia. To make the trip easier, Ben buys this super old, beat up car one day. So we see their travels, they're having a blast, and one night they stop at Wolf Creek National Park. So it starts getting dark, and all of a sudden, the three of them realize that their watches have all stopped working and their car is also not starting. Luckily for them, or so they think at the time, this man named Mick Taylor shows up and introduces himself. And Mick offers to tow their car back to his camp where he can look at it and repair it for them. So the group, having no other choice and thinking they can trust him, get in his car where he proceeds to drive them several hours south of Wolf Creek. So finally they reach his camp and he starts working on their car and he gives them some water to drink, which they all do. But of course that was a terrible mistake because after all three of them drink it, they pass out. When they wake up, the three of them are all separated and Liz wakes up tied in the shed. Liz manages to get out of her restraints and she hears Christy screaming and follows it to see that Mick is torturing her and she is tied up in his garage. Liz, however, goes outside and finds the old car and she proceeds to set it on fire to set a distraction, which works. Mick goes out there to check it out. And when he does, she manages to go into the garage and free Christy. Mick had also left his rifle in the garage, which Liz turns on him. And Liz proceeds to shoot him once, not fatally. The movie could have ended right here if she just fucking double tapped. So Liz and Christy end up getting in Mick's truck and driving away into the night, but Mick comes out of the garage with a gun and starts shooting at them. He chases them, which causes them to drive the truck off of a small cliff and destroy it. And they decide to go back to his campsite on foot to find another car because they know they're not going to survive out here miles into the fucking wilderness on foot without a car to get them out. So Liz goes into the garage where she finds that Mick just has a shit ton of trophies and possessions from other people, presumably other victims. And she also notices that he has these video cameras, and when she looks at the footage, it's just footage like stalking a bunch of people in Wolf Creek. And his MO is helping other travelers that break down. In these cameras is Ben's, and she looks at it and sees Mick's truck in the back long before they met him, so he had already been following them and targeted them. Liz gets into a car and manages to get it to start running, but all of a sudden, Mick shows up in the back seat and fucking stabs her. Always check your back seat. Liz crawls out of the floor and Mick approaches her and severs her spinal cord. And he gives her this whole head on a stick speech, so basically that's what she is because now she's paralyzed. And he demands to know where Christy is. Christy has meanwhile made a run for it and it's getting light out now and she manages to reach a highway. So this car drives by and sees her all bloodied and obviously in distress and stops to help. But all of a sudden, this man is shot and killed in the road. So Mick starts to come for Christy and she proceeds to get in this guy's car and drive off and Mick chases her. But eventually Mick stops his car and just pulls out his rifle and shoots out Christy's tire, which causes her to crash into a ditch. She crawls out of the car injured and still tries to get away, but Mick comes up and shoots her and she dies. Mick throws Christy's body and the body of the other guy that he shot into the back of his car and sets it on fire. Now, did you forget about Ben? Because he's still kicking. Ben wakes up in this dark mine shaft nailed to a crucifix by his wrists. And he straight up just pulls his wrists out and pulls the nails straight through. Ben manages to make it out to the road but ultimately passes out from just like exhaustion and dehydration. But he's found by this couple that's passing by that takes him into their car and takes him to the hospital and he's saved. Now, the movie ends by giving us title cards explaining that Liz and Christy's bodies were never found. And Ben initially was taken into custody for their murders, but 4 months later, he was cleared of all suspicion. And the movie ends with Mick Taylor walking off into the Australian sunset holding his rifle. Completely got away with the whole thing.